Welcome to Philosophical Entertainment, a podcast where if you're not philosophically entertained, our entertainment is only philosophical. I am Nirakara Vani, and I'll be your host for today's episode. If you're just joining us, take a breath. Settle in. You've arrived here at part 2 of a 3-part series, and it's a very special series, and it's one that we held with the luminous Jeanne Comeau. Now, if you haven't heard part 1, I do recommend going back and listening. It's like reading a chapter, like chapter 1 of a book you didn't know you needed. But if you're tuning in right here, right now, don't worry. I'll bring you up to speed in a way that invites you in, not leaves you out. In our first episode, Jeanne and I dove deep into what it means to live authentically. And not just that overused hashtag kind of way, but in the raw, vulnerable sense of remembering who we were before the world asked us to forget. We explore how societal expectations chip away at the desires of our child self, and how we trade joy for approval, truth for conformity, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, drift away from the essential light within us. We spoke of awakening, of what it means to crack open, of my own near-death experience, and Jeanne's intuitive wisdom that felt like a mirror to the parts of me I had long buried. And we spoke too of love, not the soft, fluffy greeting card kind, but the kind that is everything, the field that holds every star, every choice, every version of us, the love that exists in stillness, in surrender, and in those rare soul encounters that make time feel like it's stopped, like this one. Now, in today's episode, we continue that sacred unfolding. The conversation picks up with a deeper dive into Jeanne's intuitive gifts and how astrology, far from being superstition or trend, is actually a sacred language, a map that helps us understand the soul's curriculum. And not in some abstract cosmic way, but in a deep, practical, empowering one. It's about resonance, alignment, remembering who you really are by understanding the energetic signature you came in with. We also touch something tender and profound, the nature of time, how it builds us, how it binds us, and how it can be transcended. We talk about the eternal moment, that place outside of past and future, where the soul speaks clearest, where healing becomes possible, where insights flood in. And you'll hear us explore surrender, not as giving up, but as the path to the truest kind of trust, the kind that opens us to source, to cosmic energy, to the part of us that has always known what to do if only we'd quiet the noise. So, wherever you are right now, maybe you're driving, you're walking, or doing dishes, or curled up in your favorite cozy spot, I invite you to breathe. Not just the automatic kind, I mean really breathe. Inhale presence, exhale resistance. Come into this moment with us. Because if you found your way here, it's not an accident. This is part of your story too. Now, let's return to this unfolding as Jeanne and I pick up where we left off, in laughter, in curiosity, and in the sacred mystery of soul-to-soul connection. Let's dive in.
The ultimate is to return to the one. In the beginning was the one, and then separation came. There's a lot of stories about what separation came. The philosophy that I happen to believe in is God was the one. And God was love and is love. And God wanted to experience love through others, other beings. And so God created the separation. God created the souls. We are all one. And we ultimately return back to the one source. So how does God experience life and love? Through humans. There's many other things going on out there, but I'll talk about the human experience, right? We incarnate. And so we come back into the flesh through parents and an environment and people that we will incarnate with for a reason. And the reason is the evolution of the soul through time, to return to the one. Humans have fear, humans have hate, the human experience is not an easy one by any stretch. But in experiencing all of it, we evolve back to full love. So I just jump forward. We take a look at Buddha or Jesus, Krishna, these ascended masters. They weren't always ascended masters. They had been through the whole thing, and then they come back as ascended masters to teach us. So souls come into life. We choose. So we choose our parents, we choose our environment. We always travel with the same soul tribe, which is interesting. And we make agreements before we all come back as to what lessons we're going to learn. Well, you happen to have a terrible father. I'm sorry to hear that, but you're not a victim. That was part of your evolution.
Right.
So let's understand how we evolve from that and stop playing in that role. Don't let that define you any longer. Astrology helps us do that. So the soul comes in and works through life. Now, when we talk about the archetypal psychology is something that I study. Astrology certainly is something I'll always study, evolutionary astrology. So I'm taking a look at the evolution of the soul. And when I look at somebody's birth chart, the question that I ask that somebody in concert with me is, why do you have the chart you have? There's a reason for that chart. And in that chart, we see the archetype of all of the actors in your psyche, all of the actors. So everybody has the sign Aries and everybody has the sign Pisces somewhere in the zodiacal wheel. And everybody has the same planets positioned differently. And it's how things position through the houses that really start to tell the story. So we come in with these energies that are designed to take us through what we need to learn in this lifetime for the evolution of our soul. And then there's karma. And so karma is very real. We bring it in and we create it. There's the saying of transcending the karma. That's evolving through the lessons in life and not creating any bad karma along the way, right? Making right choices. And so to keep my thoughts together, the soul reincarnates as it moves through the evolution of the ultimate soul. The soul is the one thing that transcends, right? It stays with us the whole way. In astrology, the one thing that evolutionary astrology, what transcends death and rebirth are emotions. They're in the DNA. They're with you. And we can understand the motions in certain points in evolutionary astrology when we look at the South Node. We're able to understand past life emotional energies that came in with an individual in this lifetime. And through that, we're able to, even looking at how the South Node positions to other points in the birth chart, we're able to come up with a story, a plausible story. And I've done this many times. And what's interesting is when I tell, it's a bit of storytelling, right, Vani? But I tap into my intuition and I trust the symbols, as my astrology teacher, always trust the symbols. And there have been times where I've seen things in the chart and I'm like, whoa, I don't really want to say that. So I sort of tiptoe around it. So I'm able to see from the South Node and the planetary aspects to that South Node what the likely past life story was.
Interesting.
And it will repeat in the childhood, which is very interesting. So I say things to clients, and then I'll never forget the first time because there was some Scorpio in there. So Scorpio can be deep energy, deep, dark places. And this person started revealing to me things that had happened in the childhood, which I knew, but I just slighted a little bit in the report, if you will, because I didn't want to go to that dark place. But the more I did these stories, these South Node stories, the more confident I got in that I could read things that were happening in the childhood, and I knew nothing about this person's childhood. That creates the wounds, doesn't it? To stay with the evolutionary astrology. So the South Node is the past. It's where we're most comfortable. And it's what we most want to recreate in the current life. And so we will. We'll certainly recreate it into our 20s. And then maybe we start to move away from it. Opposite the South Node is what is called the North Node. And I also call it the North Star because people understand that terminology. The North Star, this is where you're going. This is your direction. The North Star, if you get your North Star right, you're evolving your soul in a positive direction. Other points in the astrology that help me understand the soul's evolution is the planet Pluto. So Pluto is very closely tied to past lives. We can read things in understanding Pluto. And then there's Chiron, the wounded healer. That tells us what existential wound the individual came in with. And so all these things mix up, the South Node, Pluto, Chiron. And I take a look at, well, what house are they in? Is it in the house of family, roots, the tribe? Is it in the house of career, my position in the world? Or is it in the house of relationships? Is it in the house, the first house? I am, my essence of who I am.
I see.
If you have a lot of wounds there, that can hurt a certain way. And so I take a look at the planetary aspects to the houses and to each other. And it really does tell the story. Now, coming out of an evolutionary astrology reading, I'm able to inform the client based on your birth chart, because the sky is always changing. So this is the conversation, right? But these are the energies that you came in with. Therefore, these are the hurts that you're feeling.
Oh, interesting.
So what is evolution? Isn't it evolving from the hurts? Isn't it evolving to a place of self-love?
Right.
Ultimately, we're all seeking self-love. Everybody hurts there because innately, we all know that we are part of the one. Whether people have got that in their language or not, they know that there's something more. They often don't go seek it until they're in trouble, but they know there's something more. So we know we're part of the one. Our soul always wants to return to that.
Right.
But it came in with hurts. And those hurts keeps us away from going after the North Star, the North Node. And it keeps us away from, because it keeps us in the story, in the victim story. So it keeps us away from invoking and taking and working with the energy, the higher road energy, if you will. Because every point in evolutionary astrology has a low road and a high road. And so I've said a lot there. I know your mind is spinning.
This is really interesting. So in my experience, after I had analyzed my world, my life, I was interested in how it connected with the rest of the universe and everything. And it's really fascinating how you're considering existence at a different zoom level than the rest of us. You're thinking in a cosmic way that, hey, if the planets are aligned in this way, or they have rotated around to this, what happens on Earth in response to that?
Yes.
And I had this interesting sort of different, so you're looking at snowflakes and you're seeing that there are a bunch of different kinds. So you fell out there and you're focusing and you're realizing that there are patterns there. Yeah. So in my side of it, I had been trained classically. This body has been trained. So like I'm really big. I'm a bigger guy. And so I worked security a lot. Like when I was a teenager, I was a bouncer. And I had for years been looking at bodies for threats. So I was looking at the areas of responsibility. They call it the 90, and it's the band, your waistband here is because
Uh-huh.
90% of all weapons are kept there. So always keeping your eye on the
Wow.
90 and all this kind of stuff. Watching people's hands because eyeballs can't stab you. So you don't have to look at their eyes. You can respectfully watch their hands. And then I have this sort of experience and I come out the other side. And now I'm seeing pattern in humans. And instead of looking at them as threats or looking at them for threats, I'm looking at their body with an understanding
Yeah.
that our bodies carry our stories with us.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like Shakespeare, he was looking at things differently from a stage perspective. And he realized the pattern that life is but a stage and we're all actors upon it. And in that,
Yes.
some of us present in a scene with a body that's carrying hurt and pain and trauma.
Yes. Very
And so
much.
as a yoga instructor, now when I'm watching people, when they come in, I realize, oh, okay, I know what kind of movements we need to do today because this person has some heart chakra work that they need done. And so for me now, I'm looking to see how I can heal people. But at the same time, just looking at a body, I can tell at what time in their life they suffered some kind of trauma and what
Isn't that
kind of
amazing?
trauma it is just by looking at their body. And
Yeah.
it's wild that you can look at the stars
Yes.
and say what's going to happen in your life.
I can look at the stars and say what energy you are going to come into in your lifetime. I can know that if you've got a strong Aries, anger management is a big issue for you. There's various things I can certainly know. And so I can explain that in terms of feelings and emotions
I
and
see.
energy that absolutely has influenced you, is influencing you, will influence you, does not go away. I can't say what you'll do with that energy. Gives astrology a bad name are the fortune tellers.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, the ones that
Yeah.
use, because some people think that we as astrologers believe we can tell a person what's going to happen in their lifetime. We cannot. But what we can tell them is what the weather's going to be. And they
Right.
can decide how to dress, right?
That's
And
perfect.
it really is like that. The birth chart is one thing, Vani, and then the sky is always changing. The
Right.
sky is always changing. So we can take a look at mundane astrology, which is the astrology of what's happening in the collective in the world right now. And we just had a major planetary shift on March 30th. This is a 14-year shift. And a planet called Neptune, which is the planet of illusion and mysticism and deception. It's the planet that rules Hollywood, news, anything that's illusory and can be deceptive, escapism, left the sign of Pisces. It had been there since 2012. And in Pisces, we saw a huge rise in the use of drugs. A lot of people escaping. Pisces is escapism, Neptune is escapism. You put those two together. And then now on March 30th, Neptune entered the sign of Aries. Now, Aries, so think of the world now. Look at the world. Aries is known as the god of war. That doesn't mean we're going to have war, although we are having war on the planet. That's always going to be there, unfortunately, at least in our lifetime. There's a whole new epoch starting now, a yuga, and that's a whole other longer story.
Yeah.
However, we now find ourselves in a world where Neptune has entered the sign of Aries. And what that means is for you and I, in what we do in raising human consciousness, what we're doing our sole purpose in this space, right? This is welcome news because Aries is the I am, the individual. And the individual is going to be seeking higher consciousness. The spiritual warrior in individuals is going to want to come out to play. In the last 12 years, we've all been dreaming about what we want to be. We all been in a dream world, honestly, with Neptune there. We're now coming out on stage, to use your metaphor. So astrology can be used to look at the generations, these generational aspects. Throughout time, astrology has been able to forecast the energy, so forecast the weather, but we won't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And there's some other major shifts coming up. But so I don't work in the space of mundane astrology. That's a whole other realm, and there's many people there. But I work with individuals to understand what's going on in their universe. Most important thing, I believe, towards holistic health is to know your stars.
Yeah.
Know your stars. It's my trademark, but it really is know thyself. And know
Yeah.
thyself has been written by the ancients since before recorded time, right? Know who you are.
It's interesting. A couple of things. Well, you mentioned a lot there. So then I'm looking at people, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way that you're looking at stars,
Yes.
I've started to realize pattern, especially pattern that ego creates. And in the same way, the hero has the hero's journey,
Mm-hmm.
the ego has the ego's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can give the ego, it's almost like, there's that method to waking kids up. You're at a fat camp. There's the fat camp thing where you overfeed the kid so much he never wants to eat again. There was
Oh.
that Donald Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie episode where for Donald's birthday, Huey, Dewey, and Louie bought Donald a box of cigars. And they were all excited to give it to Donald. And Donald thought they were up to no good up in their treehouse. And he was becoming all suspicious. So he went up there and he was looking in and he saw the boys all giggling around a box of cigars. And he thought, oh, you naughty kids. And so Donald comes in and he's just all explosive and he forces them to smoke every last one of them to
Oh
teach them
my.
using this method. And then when he goes to grab the last cigar to force him to smoke it, the little note is on the bottom of the box that says, "Happy birthday, Uncle Donald. Here's your box of favorite cigars," or something like that. And then he feels bad, as the episode ends. But it's like that where the ego has methods to wake it up. And a guru, that's one of the methods a guru has used to snap
Mhm.
somebody out of it. And then they've got those stupid chauvinistic guys in the old 50s movies and like slapping women, like, wake up, like snap out of it.
Yeah.
But there are things like that in your life that snap you out of it. That the ego, if the ego comes into you and to talk with you about waking up,
Mhm.
you could tell the ego how to wake it up if you could talk to it, because where it is attached is what it has to let go of. And so whatever,
Mm.
so, oh, you're rich. Okay. Then as Jesus said, you have to give up your fortune and come follow me.
Mhm.
That will wake you up,
Right.
because whatever it is that you're attached to most,
Mhm.
that
You
will
have to let it
be
go.
the undoing of that ego,
Surrender.
the surrender. Exactly. And so I have noticed that I have been able to see people's futures after my experience just by looking at their bodies
Wow.
and understanding where they're hurting. I can see how they're standing,
Mm.
so I know when they started hurting, and then I know what they need to wake them up. And it's an interesting sort of thing when you're talking about the movement of celestial bodies
Mhm.
impacting emotions on Earth,
Yes.
because in the same way the moon is controlling menstrual cycles,
Yes.
we are going to encounter a forecasted set of emotions in our life. And if we aren't connected with ourselves as these emotions rise,
Right.
we might just respond
Oh,
and
we will
respond from a
just respond.
yeah,
Oh, sure.
respond from a
Then.
place of hurt
Mhm.
instead of from a place of balance.
And what's interesting, Vani, is continue to recreate the South Node story
Right.
because that's where the pains are. It's like, why do so many people stay with people that abuse them for so long?
I know, and
Because
I
it's
I
what you
have.
know. Well, we all
Yes.
have.
And
Me
yeah,
too. So
yeah.
we all have.
I feel
Um,
I feel
but
bad. I fell into that
but
trap too.
it's because it's what's comfortable.
Right.
And it takes so much courage to go away from what's comfortable.
You mentioned something earlier, and then I forgot about it, and it just came back. So you were mentioning something earlier, and then you just mentioned this, that change takes courage. And I'm
Yes,
realizing, there are different types of leaders, and the leader who leads with fear produces diminishing returns.
absolutely.
Because I'm dog training, like I train service dogs. I have a German Shepherd, an 8-year-old German Shepherd at home.
Oh, how
Yeah, and she's a
nice.
service dog, so she's beautiful. And when you're training service dogs, they are like little children, and
Mm,
you have to let them be authentic. You have to be respectful toward them, and you can't lead with fear. You have to
no.
reward them. And that's when you get the behavior changes and everything. When my dog that I'm training sees a cat,
Mhm.
she's not experiencing discomfort to chase the cat. And motivation, by definition, means the desire to move away from discomfort. But she's not motivated to chase the cat. So what is motivating her to chase the cat? It's a driver of hers. She has this drive in her to chase cats.
Mhm.
And leaders
It's an
who,
animal instinct.
correct, and it's an
Right.
authentic
That's
relationship
right.
that she's not wanting to deny. And I don't
Mhm.
want to deny it either. So I'm going to try and mitigate cats around.
Save the
And
cat.
yeah. And so leaders who think they need to motivate you are causing you to deny your authenticity,
Mm,
to generate discomfort,
mm.
to get you to chase money, or to get you to
Oh,
want you to fear something. So they want to leverage maybe your salary and your comfort over.
I was in corporate for so many years, 35 years plus. Don't want to age myself. However, now I'm a metaphysician, holistic life purpose coach, evolutionary astrologer. How far apart could you get to be? But
Right.
in all of those years, the thing that kept me wanting to go to work, honestly, was the people. I could feel the fear that everybody had. It came from stock price, right? So it was just such a culture of fear in going to work, and no one really felt truly appreciated. And nobody really were given an opportunity to do their full potential, to realize their full potential, because they were all just put into different pegs. Throughout my career, I every day strove to have personal relationships, if you will, with everybody on the teams and even outside of the teams. I would bring people in and mentor them because I could sense that sense of fear. And I was always about instilling in them where they're a job well done, showing them, guiding them to do that better, or guiding them to some way of achieving particular skills, coaching them on how to work with their managers. Corporations, they elevate these managers who have no sense of the fact that every word they utter, every meeting they hold, everything they do to an individual in the day-to-day work causes that individual's psyche to be harmed or not harmed. And we send people home unhappy, unfulfilled, angry, to bring that energy home to their families. That always just was something I knew, and it bothered me. I always went out of my way to do that differently. But in corporate finance and in a big bank, it's all driven by fear. We had a senior executive come in one year. I couldn't believe it. I was going to be a big supporter of his. He said, "We will no longer run this department by fear." It's the first time I ever heard anybody say it. He was terrific until he left us, unfortunately.
But that is interesting, though. In a
He saw
leader,
it.
that you need to recognize that you should never motivate
Right.
anybody, or you should never have anybody who's motivated on your teams,
Yep.
because it means they're going to be operating from a place of discomfort. So if you have people who are naturally driven to do the thing that you're doing, then
Right.
that's a perfect pairing.
I believe it's the leader's role to find the right role for everybody. And there are tools that can help you do it. Clifton Strengths Finder, great 3D tool to help us understand that. You don't need to know astrology.
I want to ask you about this then too. So in the concept of recognizing patterns to find
Mhm.
out how easily things complete their circuit each time they're instantiated, then what about the personality index tests? Because as an improv actor, when you go to put a band together, if you go to put an improv team together, in the way that you put a band together, you're going to need a percussionist, somebody to play bass. You're going to need maybe a guitarist, a vocalist. There's like job descriptions almost, or like
Yes.
strengths or something that,
Strengths,
yeah, that each
talents.
talents, yeah. And so in improv, there's an improv test you can take.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it tells you, yeah, it tells you what kind of improv performer you would be. So like when you're in the sixth level of improv and
Ah,
you're about to graduate, they have a class where they teach you how to put improv teams together. And there's like a
very
robot, a
cool.
ninja. Yeah, there's like different character types and personality types. And so I'm like kind of the zany one where I'll kind of play anyone, but there's like the sniper. And it's like my favorite person.
They're archetypes.
Exactly. And so I wanted to discuss with you these because you talked about soul families.
Mhm.
Does it kind of work like that, where you have a family that could be considered a spectrum that within it has
All
characters
the
like a lava
players.
lamp?
Right.
It's a closed system that can change its shapes. And
Right. I hadn't thought of that before, but so that's interesting from a soul family perspective. Certainly, someone's going to come in and be the mom, someone's going to be the dad, there's going to be the sisters and the brothers, maybe. There's going to be intimate relationships. And the individuals that are in these roles in this lifetime could have been in different roles in the other lifetimes. They all come in
right,
and incarnate in different roles. So, in order for us to live, if we think about living this human experience, we all have roles of people that are part of our life. I mean, we all had a mom and a dad, and some of us had brothers and sisters, and we all had mates and business partners, maybe. So, I would say yes, that the archetypes are there and come in. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about StrengthsFinder. Clifton StrengthsFinder, which is one of these personality tests that an individual takes. It doesn't put you into four boxes. It more comes up with words that are then organized into four themes, which is strategic thinking,
okay, right.
relationship building, influencing, and execution. But you get 34 different words that identify what your strengths are, what you're talented in, what your strengths are. I wanted to talk about StrengthsFinder because it's part of my program that I use. So my full holistic
Okay,
life purpose coaching program is the basis of that program is that my clients know who they are, that I then know who they are so I can guide them to further not accept, to understanding who they are.
I see.
They're not who their environment tells them to be or who their family tells them to be. And then they're all lost and they don't know why they're unhappy. With evolutionary astrology, I seek to do that. And with Clifton StrengthsFinder, I say the terminology I use is I bring the stars back down to earth.
I see. Right.
Someone doesn't want to go on the job and say, I have a strong Aries and a bright Mercury, but they might want to say, I'm a strategic thinker. With the StrengthsFinder results, it's interesting, Vani, I can see it in the astrology.
Fascinating.
It's
Okay.
very fascinating. So someone that has a lot of relationship talents and strengths, they have a lot of relationship in their astrology. So
Oh, I
they
see.
do mirror each other. And even if we took the improv team
Yeah.
assessment, you would see that as well. It's all about the energy of
Right.
the archetypes, which ties back to everything is energy, 99.999% energy,
It is
right?
hard when you're somebody who is like dealing in law and evidence and all this
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you talk about energy. But
Yeah.
then even if you're somebody who's like, oh, in law and all this, go take a dancing class.
Oh, sure.
And
I love
right, because
dancing.
then you'll start talking about energy. So that was interesting. Even in like the police academy, they would train you how to define for the courts in your reports
Uh-huh.
the threatening body language, because we
Isn't
had a
that
whole class on
interesting?
it.
Isn't that
Because
interesting?
yeah, because bodies move, and
Mhm.
with it they communicate different energy. And there are different oh, what is that, cosplaying, there's different cosplay ways that
Yeah.
you can frame how bodies are moving. And it's really interesting. In law enforcement, it's all very dry, it's supposed to sound very scientific for the courts. But then if you go take a dancing class, your dancing instructor is going to start talking about energy,
Mhm.
and they will talk with you about like how a man holds
I've
himself. And
taken dancing classes,
oh
love to
yeah, okay,
dance.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. And so I guess for like anyone listening too,
to kind of think when we talk about energy in those kinds of ways, that there could be different ways in which we could define it, which I love what you're doing, because you're taking what is and you found a relationship with a certain type of kind of way to ping somebody in a non-threatening way through this sort of testing standard that will yield the same results no matter how you would try to define it.
What is so interesting is there's three major phases of life that I take a look at. So the individual coming into a career, early 20s to early 30s, sometimes even into the 40s. And then there's the individual that's 40 looking at 50, starting to look at 60, and it's the midlife. And then there's the I'm entering into retirement, or I'm entering into the renaissance of my life, the third chapter of my life. So the three chapters of life. And so I love to work with those different age groups. And I see how certainly astrology plays into all of them, because it's never too late to know your stars.
Right.
Never too late to stop the mind chatter and know that you are perfectly made. There's nothing wrong with you. These are the energies you came in with, and love yourself for your energies. It's very empowering. And then when I go over to StrengthsFinder, I bring the stars down to earth. So if I'm working with a younger individual, the language of the way the reports out of this assessment tool are written play perfectly into resume writing. Well, first of all, the individual is able to see in earthly speak how to use the words that define who they know they are in terms of their talents, what they like to do, what they're good at. We all know those things, but we don't really know how to coin them a lot of the times. And so the individual who's in the career building phase can look at this terminology, get confidence in what their strengths are. Not everybody is good at everything. I'm not a major influencer, Vani. I just am not. I understand that now. And so I partner with people that are, such as you. Certainly you're a major influencer. We take that into resume writing. I actually help individuals write their resumes. It's not even in my website. And then for the folks that are in the middle road, they don't like what they're doing. They fell into it, just like I fell into my career. Everybody falls into their career. Not everybody. Some luckies don't, right? If they've been led in a certain way by their parents, I believe. Then there's the middle part of life. And isn't there more to life than this?
Right.
Well, it's time to know your stars. Let's bring it down to earth. And all right, so you want to change careers. Let's talk about writing that resume. Let's talk about writing, you want to go out on your own, you want to build your business. Let's talk about writing your bio. And let's talk about the types of people that you need to partner with, because you don't have those talents in your top 10. All right. Then there's the third part of life. The individual that sometimes people don't want to leave work because they don't know what they'll do with their life. They're really afraid they're going to go down. And a lot of people do. If hobbies haven't been built up, if passions haven't been built up, if they've been in a career that never was their calling, then it's going to be extra hard. But again, in your stars, we can identify, and I'll go back all the way back to the folks starting out in their career. Astrology will tell you what your sole purpose is in terms of life, career. And I can read it right through the 3rd, the 6th, and the 10th house and the energies that are coming in there. When I'm working with individuals that are looking at leaving their professional life, we take a look at all of these things as well. And along the way with all of it, Vani, with each of the age groups, one of the tools that I use is let's write the history of your 10-year, let's write the story of your 10-year history. The story of your 10-year history. So it's like GPS. If you're going somewhere, you got to put the destination, then the software routes you as to how to go there. You don't start it there. So there's an opening paragraph. The year is 2035. I am X years old. Somebody's in their 20s. I'm 30 years old in 2035. They like to say that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's in their 60s. They go to, I'm 70 years young,
Yeah, they do.
younger.
Right.
And that's all cool, whatever kind of word you want to put at it. You're however many years young or old. 10 years ago, this happened. And I decided to. So you fill in the this, and I decided to. And said, the this is I hit rock bottom, or the this is I got a divorce, or the this is
Yes.
whatever it is. And I decided to. The decided to is I decided to pick myself up and go forward. Right?
Right.
Or, the this is could be as simple as I saw retirement coming and I decided I wanted more in life. It doesn't need to be a bad thing. And this is how it all turned out. They write the story of their 10-year history. But to back up on that, and we're talking about my signature holistic life purpose counseling program here, just a little plug. I start the journey with my clients by writing their beginning story. And it's what I write. So I interview my clients and I ask them a lot of questions, and I'm really looking for where have they been? Where are they now in life? And what is it they feel they want to be? I feel I want to be. I feel I want to be the wise woman. Well, that's an archetype. All right. It's an essence of who you feel you want to be. It doesn't mean I'm going to be out on the stage. I wrote a book. I'm not at that point yet. So I write their starting story and I send that off to them, and sometimes they edit it and sometimes they say that's absolutely it. We file it away. Then we do their evolutionary astrology. We look at everything. Then we do the strengths finder. We bring the stars back down to earth. And through that, now it's about session 4 of 9. They're really getting to understand who they are. And by the way, Vani, every time I meet with them, we're talking stars. I have their chart up, right? So it's really getting to understand their energies and how it's playing out in the life. And then we get into writing the story of their 10-year history. This is something they write. Some get held up and I have to start it off for them, and that's perfectly fine. Or I help them edit it. Everybody is different, but they end up writing it. It'll be 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages. And they see the vision of who they somehow felt they were and always wanted to be. It comes out in writing. And then I put on my experience of being a program manager for many years. So I'm talented. That's my talent. I can bring any plane down to land, if you will. And so I go through the history of their 10-year future and I start to pull out the action plans. I start to pull out the goals. I start to pull out the action plans. We put that into an action plan document. And I run that through them. That takes us a while. And all along the way, the stars are helping us, and Strengths Finders is helping us to further instill in them getting to know who they really are. And then they have a vision of what they want to do with who they really are. And we get into action. And it's different with every client. Some clients, by session 6, we're making it happen. How are we making it happen? They're joining a program. They got their website up, their business plan for the business that they're looking to start. And I have tools to help them do that. So every client is so different. I have something for all of them, is the message here. So it's a well-rounded program. And I'll tell you, I created it based off of all the tools that I gathered over the last 25 years as I was doing corporate technology, as I was always wanting to add value to others. How am I going to do this? John Maxwell leadership. So I'm certified there. Certainly Strengths Finder, certified there. Astrology, I've been doing astrology my whole life. All my friends know that. I'd always be telling them this, that, and the other thing. Then I entered the Academy for Evolutionary Astrology so that I could really focus on that and philosophical astrology and archetypal astrology, all of that together. So all these tools came together and morphed into this program that I've created And I have to say that COVID, let's enter the story of COVID, right? Didn't COVID everybody's got a COVID story,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? So do I, if it weren't for COVID
Right.
and the crazy shutdown. But that was the year 2020, which is 5 years ago. But it so happens that at the turn of the year, I decided to really study my own stars, really get into it. And I decided to chart phases of my life
Oh, interesting.
across the different movements of especially the outer planets. And it was uncanny.
Oh, fascinating.
It was revealing to me revealing to me more and more that I could see repeats in my life. And I really got to know who I was at that level.
Yeah.
And I had already had the Strengths Finder. And so that went along with that. And then we were in lockdown. And one of the things I had always wanted to do was metaphysical treatments. So
Okay.
what's a metaphysical treatment? And I wasn't a metaphysician then. That was 5 years ago. I am now. A PhD in metaphysics. And it's where I meet with an individual and there's something in their life that they're looking to change. We all are, because we're all evolving, right?
Yeah.
And I apply a mantra or a prayer, and it's like giving somebody a prescription.
Right.
This is what you're going to say every day. Now, of course, you've got to believe in your physician. There are doctors that don't help us because we don't have a bond with our doctors. So, of course, I have a bond with my clients. And so I'm applying metaphysical treatments. That was what I wanted to do. And I Googled, I did an internet search for how to apply metaphysical treatments. And AI wasn't online, so that didn't pop up. But what did pop up was the International University of Metaphysics in Sedona. And I joined there and went through the bachelor's, the master's to the PhD. And my master's thesis was Know Your Stars.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I pulled it all together and I did a lot of research.
I would love to read that if I could get a copy.
You will
That would
love
be
it.
so
I will absolutely
fantastic.
send it. I'm planning
Yeah.
on turning it into a book, but it is fantastic,
Okay.
if I do say so myself. And no AI, no AI. And that was wonderful. And then I had joined the university. I was after a doctorate in theocentric psychology.
Okay.
So theocentric is God-centered. And I was after it for me because I wanted to live that life.
Okay.
Where it was infused in me that I knew where I was in the oneness of it all. And these teachings certainly brought me to that place. And so theocentric psychology is still on my list to do, but it's a big program, going to take a long time, a lot of studying, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to earn that PhD in metaphysics so I could launch my business ahead of time and do more learning there. And so I went for holistic life counseling, which is what I focus on now. But with that paper, and so that's a dissertation, your life is what you make it. Simply, your life is what you make it. And unlocking the triad of the holistic trinity. So what does that mean? If we know who we are, truly, our authentic selves, back to our earlier conversation, right?
Yeah.
Then we know what our purpose is. And when we know what our purpose is, the mental machinations stop. They just stop. It's amazing. And we feel harmony. We feel peaceful. It is a level of spirituality because you're connected with your role in the oneness of it all. We all have a role to play. Everyone does. And it's unique to each and every person. An undisputable statement there. When we know who we are, when we're on the path to living our life purpose, there's a spiritual evolution that takes place. When that spiritual evolution takes place, there's a mental calming down that takes place. You get the spiritual peace, you get the mental peace. Bring those two together, you get emotional peace. Bring that in, your physical body is at peace. So we're talking about holistic life living. And how does it start? Knowing yourself is how it starts. And then, yes, getting into action, doing something with that and making it happen. How many times, how many people end up at the end of their day? I should have. I didn't live my life. I know, Vani, that people suffer. People go through the worst and most terrible things, and you and I live like a king and a queen compared to what other people in this world are doing and having to deal with. But the truth of the matter is, it's always a choice as to how you deal with whatever you're dealing with. That's how the soul evolves, is through choice. Evolutionary astrology is choice-based astrology. I can tell you what weather you're going to be greeted with, but I can't tell you what you're going to do with it. One thing that I want to circle back with, since I seem to have the stage here, Aries leading, is that with evolutionary astrology, it's important for us to all understand our natal chart energies. They will be with us throughout our life. They are the core predicament, if you will. They are there, but the sky is always changing. So I spoke a little bit earlier about Neptune entered the sign of Aries on March 30th. It's going to be there for 14 years. Well, where is Aries in your chart? Meaning, what house is going to be influenced by this spiritual warrior energy? Is it in your second house, your third house? Because the house that it's in helps you understand what area of life you're going to project that energy through. And you will project it whether you know about it or not. What's interesting is when you know about it, to take the high road as opposed to falling victim to the low road.
And just like that, we find ourselves at the close of another chapter in this unfolding sacred conversation. What a journey from the stars to the stories we carry in our bodies, from archetypes dancing through our birth charts to the lived experience of trauma, surrender, and healing. This episode invited us to remember that nothing we feel is random, and no path is purposeless. Jeanne so beautifully shared how the map of the stars can reflect the soul's curriculum, how the South Node speaks to the comfort of the past, and the North Node calls us forward into growth, and how every wound, every block, every repeated pattern is not a curse, but a breadcrumb leading us home. We spoke of karma, not as punishment, but as rhythm, as echo, as the universe asking us gently, and sometimes not so gently, are you ready to evolve yet? And maybe most powerfully, we spoke of choice, that even though the energies are present, how we dance with them is entirely up to us. The stars may whisper the weather, but we still choose how to dress, how to respond, whether to armor up or open up, whether to stay in the safety of the known or step into the sacred discomfort of growth. We also explored the power of pattern, the way the body remembers, the way posture holds pain, the way trauma lodges itself into flesh and fascia until finally we become aware enough to release it. And in that awareness, healing begins. Astrology, archetypes, strengths, stories. This episode gave us a bridge between what is ancient and what is actionable. And that's the invitation, isn't it? To stop seeing ourselves as broken, to stop trying to be what the world demands, and start uncovering, layer by layer, the unique, sacred energy we came into this life with. To begin living, not from fear, but from alignment. Not as who we've been told to be, but as who we truly are. And in so doing, we don't just heal ourselves, we become examples of what's possible for our children, for our communities, for anyone still wandering in the dark, wondering if there's more. Spoiler alert, there is. And maybe, just maybe, you found a glimmer of that light today. If this episode moved you, stirred something, or made you breathe a little deeper, I want to invite you to stay connected with us. You can like, share, and subscribe this episode with someone you feel might be ready for it. And if you're looking for a place to explore more of these conversations, or maybe even become part of this growing community of awakening souls, visit us at www.philosophicalentertainment.com. There, you can become a member, access bonus content, join upcoming events, and most importantly, find others who, like you, are remembering, unfolding, becoming. You don't have to do it alone. You never did. So, thank you for walking this part of the path with us. Thank you for listening not just with your ears, but with your whole being. From my soul to yours, I am Nirakara Vani, and you have been listening to Philosophical Entertainment. Until next time, take care of yourself and love without delay.